All right. Welcome to Wonder Women Wednesdays. And we're kickstarting the Wonder Women Wednesdays with Maha Al Musa, who has Palestinian in her blood, Lebanese, and a little bit of Indian as well. So that's where we have the connection. She's a mother. She's the founder of Embody Birth and a breastfeeding advocate for the last 25 years. I'm super excited to have you, Maha. I have been following your work for a very long time. And you're an inspiring woman. Your story, I have goosebumps talking to you right now because for me, women that are living their lives the way that they want to on their own terms and making that change in society is so inspiring for me. And I'm so happy that you agreed to come on the platform. There's a lot of things that we can talk about, but before we get started with some of the things that I'd like to talk with you about, I would love if you would introduce yourself and your work a little bit for everybody that's listening today.
So my name is Maha Al Musa, as you said, and I am the founder of Embody Birth and Belly Dance Birth since 1997. This is my 25th year as an independent childbirth educator and an international childbirth educator. I'm a mother to 3 beautiful children, all born as nature intended. And my daughter Amina was born at home when I was 46 years of age, and I breastfed her 8.5 years. So I'm also a breastfeeding advocate. I was in the worldwide media for 4 years, from 2012 to 2016, standing up for public breastfeeding, women's voices, women's choices, you know, the ability to speak for yourself. Yes, we have our own voice. We know what we're doing as women. And yeah, so basically I've been teaching my program all over the world and now a lot online. I do counseling as well. I'm the author of the award-winning book, Dance of the Womb, a world first book on belly dance for birth, endorsed by Dr. Michelle O'Don, Sheila Kitzinger and other people. And my video series, Dance of the Womb. So I've got lots of resources. I've been very creative because that's what pregnancy and birth gives us when we're healthy and well. It elevates and expands our creativity and our fountain of flow and our gifts to the world. So that's what I've really been doing for the last 25 years. And my boys are now 21 and 24. So, you know, being a mum, being a creative, sharing my voice and gifts to the world. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Maha. Thank you. I would really like to start by talking about, embody birth. How did you formulate this? What was the inspiration to work with movement and also about dance of the womb? I'd really like to know how movement has helped you and how you help other women, before, they give birth, and how does movement help them? I know for a fact that I was in like a 12 hour labor. And the one thing that really gave me some respite and helped me was to actually do a lot of hip rolls and kind of go into like deep plie positions and kind of readjust my hips a little bit. So from experience, I know that that's helped me a lot. But I would really like to hear from a specialist, from someone who's been doing this for so long, how it has helped women.
Well, embodied birth is a philosophy. It is not just one thing. Birth is not linear. Birth is not getting to an actual destination, actually. It's unraveling the layers of the emotional, the physical, and the energetic body. It's a journey. It's a rite of passage. It's a ceremonial initiation. So when we start to talk and look at birth through this lens of the sacred, the spiritual, the place where we revere mothers, we revere the experience, we respect the experience, then when we talk about embodying birth, that says to me, I am all that I need to be on this journey. So it's not only just about movement as in physical movement, it's the movement of my life. It is the ability to be in rhythm and stillness. And in stillness, there is always rhythm. So embodied birth is about life. Movement is about life. It is the creative fountain, the source of life. There is no life without movement on a psychic, spiritual, physical level. So I'm of Palestinian Lebanese origin. And in my culture, The belly dance, or what's coined as belly dance in the West, is actually a beautiful dance, they say, of fertility, of birthing. At its roots, it has that element where a woman would go into labor and the other women would stand around in circle and dance with her and ululate and move with her and support her in the sisterly circle. And that's what I came to when I was pregnant with my first son, now 25 years ago. It was as though the activation of those birthing roots from a cultural perspective were accessed as my womb expanded, as my baby grew. I then got to activate and access that wisdom, that dance of the womb. And that is where it emanated from me. And I was pregnant in Australia, and there was actually a midwife who was a belly dancer, and she was teaching a class. And I was in that class when I was pregnant with Kailash, my first son. And when he was about 6 months of age, she couldn't take the class. She said, Maha, you dance so beautifully, you get it. I said, yes, because it's my roots. It comes from the source, the womb source, that place within me. And so I took over teaching. I didn't know what I was doing as a teacher, but I knew what I was doing. All we needed to do was create the circle, the sacred circle, and the pregnant mothers would come. And without choreography, without telling them these are steps that you do, there is no choreography or steps as such in birth. You have to be able to unveil and reveal each unfolding moment of birth. And that is what embodied birth and belly dance brings us to, is to the moment of now. I can't be in the past. I can't be in the future when I'm giving birth. I have to embody what grace, what wildness, what rawness, whatever life shows me in this moment now. So the philosophy of embodied birth is bringing women into that mindful awareness that in birth, we can't work it all out. We can't know everything in our head. We have to let it go and come down into the womb, the pelvis, connect to the Mother Earth. And that is where we find our strength and our wisdom. And in strength and wisdom, everything is valuable and valid. Every emotion, everything that we feel, everything that we encounter is perfect, regardless of the kind of birth you have. So embody birth says to take a 360-degree vision of your journey. What's to the front of me? What's behind me? What's to the side of me? Am I willing to engage the wholeness of who I am with the wholeness of my baby in my holiness? So when we start to speak this kind of feminine or female language for birth, something opens up within our somatic body, within our body. There's an openness, because what we have now all over the world is constriction and fear. So women are holding on. The body can't open. So embodied birth is asking of us, where am I resisting? Where am I open? What intention do I have on this journey? Who is this baby? We talk about the psychic highway between a mother and baby. You can't engage that psychic highway if you are constricted and contracted and fearful. So what we need to do is open up that energetic field. And that's what we use. The dance is the embodiment of the energetic field, the womb wisdom, the connection to my baby. In that expansion, I can listen to what it is that I need when I am woman baby centered. Not what the neighbor needs, not what my mother did. We do carry the maternal lineage of our mother line. And every single time we birth, we get the opportunity to recalibrate, re-examine, rebirth the maternal lineage. And the reason for that is to evolve consciousness for humanity. At its roots, when we deeply embody birth, we are actually embodying consciousness, which is the gift to the world from our birth, as well as our maternal line. This is why it is a sacred process. So that movement that we engage in is part of that gifting of consciousness to the world through the way we birth. And there is no judgment on the way we birth, however we do that. But what there needs to be is a respect for each and every woman who births on this planet. 360,000 births every day. Imagine if women could harness this sacred energy and the wisdom of the womb, and you were free in birth. And I talk about free birth, not being that I'm just going to be at home on my own. That can be a choice. But for me, freedom or free birth is the freedom to choose the way that I need to birth with this baby. Where do I feel safe? Where do I feel secure? In what environment will my body be able to open or more likely open? Yeah, that is what free birth is. And I am not free in birth if my sister is not free. Even if I have a free birth at home on my own, I will never be free as a woman unless all women are free. And that is what I teach in birth. We must all be free to express our lineage, our wisdom, our innate knowing, our primal knowing through birth in the way that we need and our baby needs. This is really, really important stuff for women to know. It's more than just a pathology. It's not just about, I've got to get a baby out. Yeah, we are robbing women of an experience when we just limit and place limitation. As I said, birth is not about limitation. It is about expansion to open, as I said, to that 360-degree vision. And my work is deep work for birth. It's not superficial. I'm saying, are you willing to walk this path of deep excavation into who you are and who you are becoming? What does that mean to you? That is what embodied birth is about, in a nutshell.
That was amazing. There's so much to learn, even in just in that little bit of a talk. It was just so many things that I kept kind of resonating with, and I went back to my birth story. I originally wanted to have a water birth. I wanted to have a natural birth, and then I think about 4 or 5 months into the pregnancy, the doctors realized that I had placenta previa. So I think the placenta didn't move far away from the cervix, and it was almost overlapping. And they started getting a little paranoid, and then they said that we should kind of, when it gets a little closer, be careful and mindful for no bleeding at home. And so I had to take things a little bit slower towards the last few months, the third trimester mostly. um, and I remember how stressful it was, because they said, if you're not, getting into labor naturally, why don't you come and try out a guarded induction? And I wasn't very happy with the idea, but I really didn't know, because all I kept hearing was it's a delicate situation, so you need to be careful. And of course, water birth, from what I heard from the doctors, was already kind of out of the picture. And then they said that that's not something that we're going to be comfortable with doing for you. So, I was like, okay, let's look at what you're saying. And if you're saying we should try out a guarded induction, let's keep that as an option. But I think, as nature had it, the night that we decided for the guarded induction was the morning that I went into natural labor. So I went into labor naturally, and I waited for the contractions to come closer to each other before I decided to go to the hospital. And I was, I think, in labor for about 10 hours before we went to the hospital. And I was so let down by the hospital experience because they wouldn't let me be in a position that I wanted to be in. So I could not be on my fours. They kept saying that I needed to be on my back. And they were super concerned with getting me shaved down there. And I was like, why do I need to be shaved? You know, I mean, back in the day when there weren't any razors, I mean, I don't think women were always getting shaved before going, you know, I mean, it depends. It could be a natural birth, it could be a C-section, whatever it is. But why the stress about getting shaved? And they just wouldn't allow me to move. They wouldn't allow me to change positions. And it was really, really stressful. So for the experience for me, in the end, I'm happy because I was healthy, baby was healthy, everything happened okay. But I feel like the process from starting off, you know, the labor into getting into hospital was so stressful. It all added on to the stress that I was already feeling because of hearing that, you know, you have placenta previa and things can go wrong. But I really want to know your take on this. I want to know, you know, how much of this, how much medical intervention do we really need? You know, and are things or practices like shaving the mother when she's, you know, in labor, all of this, is this important? Is this intervention actually important? I want to hear this from you.
Hmm. There's intervention for emergency, and then there's unnecessary intervention. And what layers upon all of that is the place in which you give birth. So the particular hospital that you choose or the birth center. Everyone has their protocols and procedures. And this is something that's really important as a mother when you decide to go to a certain institution to birth, to really find out what are their protocols and procedures, and whether you feel that that resonates with you. Or if they tell you something like, we're going to shave you, you ask why before you come to give birth. So it's really, this is part of the preparation. And some of these things you don't know are going to happen. So it's not even your fault of what has happened. This is the imposition and the lack of understanding and respect of the experience and the mother and the baby as a self-referenced autonomous person who is not infantile, somebody who is crossing the line between life and death. That is what birth is. If it is a sacred initiation, an institution, when it has these kinds of things in place that have to be done, will never see birth as a sacred rite of passage, because their bottom line or their foundational understanding of what birth is that you as a mother are a pathology that needs something done to you. And I say in embodied birth that a woman in labor does not need to be saved, she needs to be loved. And there is a huge lack of love, deep love, for women, especially within a system. Not all systems, but in a general sense, we have to look at what is it that I see birth as. So if I see birth as a medical event, then everything that goes along with that will look like a medical event. If I see birth as a sacred rite, everything that I put in place through, as you said, that process will always look through the lens of the sacred intention. So that really is what we are dealing with. The different ways in which, and the different beliefs that we have around what is birth. And that is where most women will go, into the medical system to birth. And that is why it stays in that biomedical lens. That's how it's viewed. And you are just a body with a baby, and that baby's got to get out. And so we have all of this in place to just get that baby out. So if that's the intention, we're not thinking about your emotional needs. What is it that you need and your baby need from the heart level? Yeah. So we're not looking at it through the heart. I travel all over the world teaching, the last 3 years in China before COVID. And I ask the obstetricians, the midwives, the doctors that I teach, I ask them, why do you do this job? We go around the circle. Why are you an obstetrician? Why are you a doctor working in birth? Why are you a midwife? And they just look like, wow, no one's ever asked me that question. Why are you doing what you do? What do you believe about this job that you do? And it's fascinating because really it's all up here. It's not really embodied. Yeah. And there's a lot of fear that's carried into and through the process of birth. And women get flung into this fear space. And as you said, you were birthing beautifully at home. As soon as you transition from home to hospital, look at what the environment does to your nervous system and then to your baby. So we are walking in with a shield and a sword, almost in battle, which is the antithesis of where we need to be as birthing mothers. Yeah. We're not supposed to be externalizing the experience and protecting ourselves. We're supposed to go deeply into that primal mammalian place where I can completely let go, where I know everything on the outside is taken care of and I am protected, I am safe, I am secure, and I can focus on the beauty of this experience, whatever that looks like, whether I'm screaming out or whether I'm humming and moving. The room is dark. I can feel where my baby is. I'm speaking to my baby. Yeah, I am autonomous in a safe space. Unfortunately, most women are robbed of that experience because of all the unnecessary interventions. And I only ever talk about unnecessary, not an emergency. And if you already had in your pregnancy the fear put onto you, then that is going to be accelerated and accentuated when you walk into the hospital generally. And that is actually not what you need. You need reassurance, you need love, you need compassion to let that oxytocin flow. That's what we need. That is what we need in order, as I said before, for our body to open, to feel safe, to feel connected. Yeah. So I completely understand, darling, exactly where you were and why it affects you. It affects you. That it sits in your body.
Yeah,
It
it
sits
does.
in your body.
It does.
Yeah. And going back to movement, and dance is a way to release too,
Yeah,
to
but
move that.
from my experience of wanting, I think I naturally wanted to move, but they didn't allow me that.
No.
I wasn't even allowed to trust what position I'd like to be in. And when
Yeah.
the environment isn't helpful, I mean in the end it worked out, it's fine. But you kind of live with this experience, you live with this, uh,
Mm.
you hang on to it, why couldn't I have the birth I wanted? Or why didn't I have the support I needed? Why couldn't I move? And you think about how you would have liked your birth story to be something that changed you, or broke you and opened you, but
Mm.
it didn't go the way you wanted, and you kind of live with that a little bit. And I couldn't, it was so difficult. I couldn't release the pain, I couldn't release the fear. It was just such a stressful environment, and it was so hard to let go of that at that point.
And I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry to hear that. But let me reframe it in a different way for you. What if each birth that we have, we are able to meet whatever arises, whatever that is, whether that's the imposition, whether that's our innate fear, our innate difficulty, if we can be willing to say, I am going to meet whatever arises. I'm not going to resist. I'm going to actually even try and drop into that. I'm not allowed to move. What else could I find? What other resource within me could I draw on? Because that is where we find that inner strength. Besides all of that frustration, there's always a jewel and a diamond within the experience. Yeah, there's both sides. So if I can, and this is what birth shows us, this is what birth shows us. It shows us the mystery, my story. Can I meet the mystery? Whatever is meant to unfold, can I, without resistance, meet that? If I do have resistance, what does that show me about myself? If we look at birth as an evolution, a personal evolution, as I move through the layers of who I am, and I look at it not with judgment, but curiosity. So now if you reframe the whole experience and say, isn't that interesting? When they said you can't move, what was my reaction? I was so frustrated. I was angry. But look at that power that I have in that too, that I actually can feel those emotions. Yeah. That I can center that emotion, that I have that inside of me. Yeah. So I'm curious about the way I responded in the environment. So I just make a bit of a different reframe on the experience. It's not to take away what happened. It's not to say I can't be angry and, you say, oh, I got a baby and it's great and wonderful. Yes, but so is whatever happened to you. How do I alchemize that into my gift and my power as a woman? What does that give me? And if I come to give birth again, I've already moved through one layer within myself. What is to be revealed next to me with this baby? Yeah. So we can never be hard on ourselves. We never be angry at ourselves. We just be witness and observe the responses we had to the experience. That is why it is one of the spiritual experiences of life. But birth never gets put into that arena or on that platform of spiritual transformation. Like all the other experiences of life, men go and sit in caves and meditate. Men fly to the moon. Yeah, they go on pilgrimage. Giving birth is a pilgrimage. It is a spiritual rite initiation pilgrimage. You are at the doors of the temple. You are in mindful intention to the experience. And that is the gift of mothering. And imagine if every woman could see birth in that way and be held in that place of enlightenment, regardless of the experience. Remember we said at the beginning, everything is valuable and valid. So we take that experience and we alchemize it into our power, our strength, our vulnerability, our humbleness, our anger, our joy, our happiness, our sadness. Everything is wrapped up in that experience. Know thyself. Who am I? Who am I on this journey? Who am I as I become a mother to this beautiful baby of mine? Whatever that relationship, whatever relationship we are in. That's birth. The way we birth is the way we live. The way we live is the way we birth, and that is an evolution.
Absolutely. And I think it makes complete sense that the program is called Embody Birth. I think that makes complete sense. I also feel like as much as I needed to hear these things, I think there's probably a lot of women out there that need to hear the same things. And not just hear them, but to also have all those things in place for them. I would love to hear what the embody birth course entails, and if a student would like to come, a mother, a to-be mother would like to come study with you or understand or go deeper into this kind of work, what would she be, what could she expect from this?
Hmm. Well, in this last year actually, before that, I was actually teaching birth professionals. So I had a 1-day workshop, Introduction to Embody Birth, Belly Dance Birth. Then I had a 4-day program to become a teacher, which I actually taught in India in 2017. I was in India. I spoke at the Human Rights in Childbirth Conference in 2017. So it started out as just a 1-day workshop 10 years ago, grew into a teacher training, which is what I have been doing in China and in Australia in different places. And then I had so many people asking me, have you got an online course? Which I didn't have anything. It was very hard for me initially to work out how to put this kind of embodiment online. And I thought, people love my words of wisdom. People love listening to me. So I thought, I'm going to put it as chapters and modules of my wisdom. So I created in 2019 to 2020, just before the whole COVID thing happened, an online program, which is 4 modules and 21 chapters. And those modules are philosophy and psychology of birth, physiology, and practice, which is all the belly dance birth dances. So we go into deep excavation in the philosophy and psychology section, which is all about baby in utero, all about beliefs that I have, all about my personal ideas of birth, working with my partner, understanding who I am on this journey of enlightenment and initiation. So there are 5 chapters in the first module. And then I have suggested activities, things that you can do, whether that's journaling, art, movement, working with your partner, meditation. So there's suggested activities that I give you for each of the chapters. And then we look at physiology. So we look at the connection of the jaw and the pelvis and the cervix. We look at the first and second stage of labor from my perspective. We look at the hormones of labor. So the way that I present it in my wisdom is through the poetism of birth. So I have a very particular way that I frame the information, which is not cold and sterile. It's more of the feminine language of birth. And then we have all of the belly dance birth movements. So all from my award-winning book, Dance of the Womb. So you get all of my prenatal dance that you can practice, the circle, the spiral, the figure 8, yeah? The cervix movement, the hands and the arms, the chest. So I've given you all of that and you can follow with me. So that's the practical side of it. So all up, there's 21 chapters in these 4 modules. And that is my full program. That is very popular also with doulas and birth professionals as a resource. So that's the full program. And then I've got a mini mothers program. So what we've done is we've taken 7 chapters from the 21 chapters of the full program and created that for mothers as a taster, which is cheaper than the full program. But if you want to upgrade, which most women do, you can then upgrade within that program and you can then get the whole program. But that's a really nice way of giving mothers a little taste, as well as giving doulas and birth professionals the full program. They can use it as a resource, take what they need, lifetime access, and then you get Maha, you get me and all of my wisdom and work. And, you know, like anything, your work is always evolving and growing and taking shape and new ideas. And I find, you know, now that I'm in my late 50s, you know, as I said, 60 next year, I'm just getting so much transmission. It's like the last 25 years and you know, the birthing that I've done and the teaching is all getting consolidated and coming together. You know, it's taken this long, but I can really see the next step for me, that wiser woman step from everything that's gone before.